everybody, welcome back to my channel, unless of course you're new here, in which case, hi, hello, my name is Ashley, and welcome to my random little corner of the internet. As you can tell from today's title, we are going to be doing my June wrap-up. All of the books that I read in June that I rolled for when I did my TBR video. Total, I read 7, so I read all of the books that I rolled for plus 2 more, and then I finished an 8th one that I had started already. My husband and I are reading through the Trials of Apollo series. We were reading along through all of the Rick Riordan books with the Newest Olympian podcast, and then we got a little too excited and are very far ahead now. But I won't count that in my wrap-up because I started it like 2 months ago. We read like a chapter a night. Sometimes we're a little behind. But yeah, so I won't count that. Really enjoyed it, but I read like 4 chapters in June of it. So, however, we will start. This isn't in any particular order. I don't remember the order I read them in. I don't remember the order that I rolled them in on the game. So we're just gonna, I made a stack, and we're just gonna talk about each one. So, I do remember the prompt that I rolled for them. I just don't remember the order that I rolled them in. I guess I could go back and watch the video, but oh well. Anyways, so the first book that we're going to talk about that I finished was One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. The prompt that I read this for was debut novel, because this was obviously her debut novel. I loved this. Are you in... I kept not wanting to pick it up because I thought it was like a creepy book, and I'm not usually like a creepy book reader, but it's not. It does have like some more thrillery kind of elements, since like the main character has nightmare inside of her. The whole story is based off of like magic through tarot cards, which I absolutely freaking love. But overall, it was just so much fun to read. I read some of the reviews on Goodreads, and I hate when I do that because I can love a book and suddenly like, well, it only has like an average of 3 stars. I don't think this one does. It has a pretty high average. But some of them were like, this was lame, and the characters were one-dimensional. I enjoyed all of the characters. I thought they were great. The romance in the story was really sweet. There was no spice. There was one scene where they got like a heavy makeout scene, but then some other weird shit starts happening outside, so it kind of stops them from going any further. But so there's really no spice in it, but there is a romance. It's very sweet. It kind of almost gives a found family situation having to do with people that have magic, because that's the thing in this, you can't have magic. If you have magic, there's something wrong with you, and unless you're using a card, if you have innate, like if you were born with magic, that's not it. Oh, if you are in this world and there was a curse or a sickness that came through, and when you get this sickness, you either die or you end up with magic powers. In this world, that's not an okay thing. I mean, obviously in the real world, if I got sick and ended up with magical powers, bring it on. If in this book it's not okay, the king is not okay with that. All magic must come from the cards. He has to be in control, yada, yada, yada. Our main character... I don't know why I always forget main characters' names. Elspeth. Elspeth, when she was younger, got the sickness. When she recovered, she seemingly had no magical powers. She was fine. And then one day, when she was like 11, she touched the nightmare card that her uncle had found, and suddenly she had the power of the nightmare. Or she had the nightmare in her head. Other than that, that's where all the magic comes from, are these tarot cards. And stuff starts happening. I don't want to give too many spoilers about anything. Things start happening, and they have to save people that have magic powers from being killed by the king, because the king is power hungry, like all kings are. So, but I absolutely love this, and I really need to read the second one. My cats are literally right here, and they're being a pain. The second book is on KU, but it's not on my physical shelf, and the whole point of this is I'm trying to read books on my physical shelf, so I'm torn about, do I just go ahead and read it, because I really, really want to. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, next book. The Unmaking of June Farrow. This was my... Stop. Why are y'all... You're making me nervous. This was... The prompt for this one was ugly cover, which, I mean, I did see when I was looking for, like, pictures of it so I could put it on, like, different graphics and things like that. There is a version of this that is more blue, that is prettier. But, I mean, again, when I pulled the prompt, it's hard to choose an ugly cover. So this was just the ugliest cover I had. Okay, so I gave this one a 4-star because I did really enjoy it. However, it's really confusing at times. So June, when we meet June, she lives in 2023. Because that's when the book came out. She lives in 2023. Her grandmother has just passed away. She's starting to see things. Her grandmother's best friend, Birdie, lives with her. She moved in right before her grandma died to kind of help with things. June starts seeing things. She sees this red door in a field, and she doesn't know what to do about it. But this is all stuff that had happened to her mother before, and her grandmother. Her mother is missing. Her mother went missing right as, like, they found June as a baby just chilling out in an alleyway, and her mother was never seen from again, and so they don't know what happened to her either. And then, but before that, she had been seeing things, and then the grandma's seeing things, and now she's seeing things. She's like, great, now I'm just going to go crazy, and then I'm going to die. Well, then Birdie tells her, next time you see the door, go through it. Well, she goes through it, and suddenly, she's in 1954. 1954. I think that's the right year. And the people that she runs into when she's there already know her. And then it turns out that, like, she's already come back in time, but she came back before. But then she left later. And that's when it starts getting confusing. But it was still just such a fun read. That's why I gave it a 4 stars. Like, I was confused as heck, but I still enjoyed it. So I gave it a 4 stars. There's also, like, a murder mystery up in there that has to do with, like, oh, the other June is still the same June. And if you cross your timeline, then one disappear. Confusing. Fun. I still recommend it, so it is what it is. The romance is very sweet, because when she goes back in time to 1954, there is a man. He is a very sweet farmer man. And there is one scene, one slightly spice scene. Things get started, and then it kind of fades to black, but there is some detail, paragraph or two. But yeah, okay. Next up, I had an e-arc of Eat Your Heart Out, Volume 1. This was so cute. Again, I don't remember the main character's name, but she graduates from high school, and she wants to be a fashion designer. Her mother wants her to be a real estate agent like she is. And she's like this super rich, very successful real estate agent. And her daughter's like, yeah, but I'm really good at what I do, and I want to be a fashion designer. And so she kind of runs away from home and moves to New York. As, you know, kids are often to do, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, best case scenario, she gets to New York, and she's in a coffee shop. Like, she stops for coffee to try to figure out her life and what she's going to do now that she's here. And she runs into this delightful man, and he's like, hey, you should come hang out with my friends at our apartment. And they get to the apartment, and he's like, hey, somebody moved out. Do you want to move in? And there's like 7 of them living in this little apartment. And she's like, yeah, sure. They could have been serial killers. They could have been all matter of things. This is giving New Girl, kind of. Except they're all gay. Or on some level of the queer spectrum. She does get to start designing. There is a drag queen who's working at a bar that is just not doing well, and so she starts making costumes for them. She does meet a boy, and that doesn't go well. It starts to go well, but cliffhanger. We don't know how it goes. But anyways, art was really cute. Story was adorable. Representation was fantastic. And I really enjoyed it. And I gave it 4 stars. and I don't remember when it releases. I will put that right here. This will be the release date of this. I can't remember if it's already out or not. I will put it right here. This could be a date that was in the past. It could be a date in the future. I don't know. Well, there you go. All right, the next book. Let me get off of my stuff. Again, this is in no particular order. This ended up smack dab in the middle. I know people really like this series. I really didn't like this book at all. I gave it a 2 stars because I finished it. I don't ever give 1 stars because if it's a 1 star, it's a DNF. I finished it, so it was a 2 star. Every single character is insufferable. I listened to the audio. The narrator's good. She did a fantastic job. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to read the 3rd one. I'm probably going to unhaul this series. I enjoyed Six of Crows. And I enjoyed King of Scars. Because when I talked about in my TBR video, yes, I have read Shadow and Bone, Six of Crows, and King of Scars. I don't know. I don't make sense sometimes. So this prompt was continue a series you've already started. I don't want to continue the series anymore. I'm done. I read them. I read the first one originally because of the show. And I wanted to read the books before I read the show. I don't care anymore. They're all insufferable. I don't care what happens anymore. And that's really sad. But yeah, it's a 2 star. I'm sorry. If you enjoy this series, I'm sorry. I'm glad that you do. I'm so glad that you do. I'm so glad that you found things that you loved about it. It's not for me. Okay, next up, I know, so it was for Cartoon Cover, and I said that I pulled a book and then I might read it. I pulled Love Theoretically, and I said I might read Book Lovers. I decided to go ahead and read Love Theoretically, and I am so glad that I did. This is a 5 star. Insanely cute. We've got Elsie, who is our main character here. She is applying to be like a research fellow at MIT. She currently is an adjunct professor, which means that she teaches 10 or so classes in a week across 5 different college campuses and gets paid like pennies. So to make extra money on the side, she is a professional fake dater, where essentially an escort that doesn't have sex with her clients. She is purely to be hey, my mom won't get off my back saying I need a girlfriend, so will you go with me to my sister's wedding type situation. And through that, she meets Greg, who is delightful. I love Greg. Because his mom, same thing. His mom will not get off his back. I guess, spoiler alert, Greg is on the Aro Ace spectrum. He doesn't want to be in a relationship. He doesn't feel that romantic need. He doesn't feel those. He's somewhere on that spectrum. So, but he's too scared to tell his mom that. So he hires Elsie. They go on a few dates, which is technically against the rules for this company that she works for, because they're only supposed to go on one. But she really enjoys spending time with him because he's fun. He's a fun guy. Greg's older brother's name is Jack. He's kind of standoffish. He's really hot. Unfortunately, he's blonde. If you're a book girly, if you know that typically you don't like the blonde guy. It's the dark, brooding guys, right? The dark-haired, brooding. And even Elsie says that. She's like, I thought I would never fall for the blonde guy. But Jack is blonde, and he's hot, and he's 6'2", and doesn't work in finance, though. 6'5", blue eyes, academia. When she goes to apply for this job, when she goes to interview for this job, wild guess on who was the lead for the department she would be working for. It's Jack. Jack has no idea that she works in academia. He thinks that she's a librarian dating his brother. And then feelings happen and things go down. There is one explicit spicy scene, and then a couple of mild spicy scenes. I am not a... See, that's what drives me crazy, is that when I love a book that has spice, I'm not a spicy reader. I don't care for it. I typically skim it. Technically I did. I kind of skimmed. I read a little bit of it. I skimmed through it. But I loved this book. And it's a tie I think it's a tie between this and One Dark Window and which one my favorite of the month was. But I really, really enjoyed this one. The other two, surprisingly, the other two were 4 stars for me. I don't know, I guess I just didn't connect with her. I really enjoyed Elsie as a character. She was, adorable. The Jack and Greg's family is terrible. Her family is terrible. She is the oldest child, she's the baby. It's just her and twin brothers. And her twin brothers are just grade A pains in the ass who constantly fight with each other over a woman. And their mom doesn't ever want to deal with it herself. He's constantly calling Elsie to play mediator. And she's like, I have stuff. I have my life. I am trying to change, go forward in my career. And it's just a lot. And then her mentor, there's a connection between her mentor and Jack. And then there was this article that was written when Jack was a teenager that ruined the mentor's career. And a lot of connections start happening, and it's crazy. But there's love, and there's cuteness, and there's academia, because I love nerd stuff. It's a great book. I love it so much. Another e-arc I got was the graphic novel called The Ghost Keeper. Another 5 stars. I don't think I've ever cried at a graphic novel. Purely because they're not long enough usually. Like, I don't know how to... I don't want to, knock graphic novels because I read them all the time. Like, I love graphic novels. I don't think I've ever... It's never given me the time to attack. I was very near tears with this one. It is so beautifully written. The art is I love this type of art. But it's just a beautiful story of grief and healing. The main character, he can see ghosts. Turns out because he died, where you kind of die and you come back type situation where they revive you, but you were technically dead for so many minutes or whatever. That's kind of what happened to him. And so he can see ghosts, and it's his job to help heal them so they can cross over. There are also just exorcists that kill the ghosts. And he doesn't want to do that. He is a ghost therapist. He will go and he will sit with them. He'd be like, hey, why are you still here? Is there anything that I can help you with? How do we get you crossing over and stop haunting these houses? And we find out his grief and his stories and what happened to him. And we find out, his grandma is a ghost, but she sticks around and she's there and she's helping him. And we find out her story. We find out there's this little girl who stole the key to the door to crossing over, so nobody can actually cross over. And so the town is just full of ghosts, and we're trying to get to the little girl so that we can get the key and everybody can cross over and be safe. And it was so beautiful. And again, it's an e-arc, so I'm going to put the date right here as to when it releases. Again, could be in the past, could be in the future. I don't remember what it said. This is the date. Alright, and then the last book that I read for June, I literally was reading up until about midnight, June 30th, because I wanted to finish it in June, was Sleep Like Death by Kailyn Barron. This is going to have some spoilers. Okay, so we start. It is marketed as a Snow White retelling, okay? It is a Snow White retelling. Remix. We're going to go remix. Not really retelling. A remix of the story that we know. So we follow... One of these days I'm going to remember our main character's name. Her name is Eve. So we follow Princess Eve. She lives with her mother, who is a queen. And she's raised by her mom and the Huntress. That's her name. She doesn't have another name. The Huntress helps her train. Her other mother was turned into a bird by the Knight. So the Knight is this creature, this person, this entity who walks around. He grants wishes, but they oftentimes have bad, not even oftentimes, they always turn out badly. No matter how carefully you word your wish, there will be a consequence. Her other mother is a bird because she wished on her deathbed to be able to, not her deathbed, she was really sick, and instead of curing herself, she wished that she could sing again to her wife and her child. And she used to have the most beautiful voice, but as she got sick, it kind of went away. So she said, I wish to have the most beautiful voice in the land. And the Knight turned her into a mockingbird. That might not be the right bird. Either way, a bird. Turned her into a bird because birds sing pretty. And that's where we are now, you know? So now she's a bird. So Eve has been living her whole life training to be able to kill the night. Turns out her mom made a wish too. Eve wasn't conceived of natural ability, natural stuff. Mainly because this is set like clearly in like a Prince and Princess Dragons medieval fantasy. They didn't really have like surrogacy or in vitro and stuff like that, and her mom was a lesbian, so I doubt there's. Eve was a wish. She was created from the night sky and stars or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it says. The night the night Knighthd created her as a wish for her mother. And then he always has either you can make a payment or you can settle for terms. Oftentimes it's going to be terms because he doesn't want anything. He doesn't have any need for like physical goods. So the terms for Eve to be born is that she gets 17 years and then her mother has to kill her. Well, obviously they don't want to do that. And so they devise this plan and they try to get her away. And then so much ensues. Like, just the Huntress is actually in love with Mom. So the Huntress doesn't even want to go through with the plan. The Huntress is like, no, I'm going to actually kill you and tell the Knight that we killed you. Because we did. The Knight also has a son. His name is Nova. He's important because apparently there's a romance. I say apparently because it's very flat. I'm not going to lie. That was probably my least favorite part. It could have done without romance. Honestly, there was no... It had to because of the whole true love's first kiss and all of that. Like, there had to be a romance. It just fell so flat. But he's there. His name's Nova. He is the Knight's son. He helps Eve escape. The Knight is pretty much unkillable. But she learns all these stories and finds out that maybe the Knight isn't so infallible. Well, then you start learning more and more about the Knight, and I guessed this before we got to it, and I was a little proud of myself from catching. It's probably not that hard to tell. You could probably read it and be like, I caught it too. The Knights. Here's where the big spoilers happen. So, like, I don't know. Fast forward a few seconds. The Knight is Rumpelstiltskin. It turns out that many, many years ago, he made one of his first deals was to turn the straw into gold for the princess, the miller's daughter, and then she tricked him by sending spies to find out his name, and that was like again, she got out of his deal, and he has never lost a deal before, and so now he has been trying to get her family, her descendants, to continue to make wishes. Turns out Eve is a descendant of the miller's daughter. Her family, until her mother had made the wish for Eve to exist, none of the queens in the past had made a wish. And the reason is because they all knew the story of the fact that the miller's daughter was the original, the start of all of it. And then at the end, in the epilogue, Eve meets these two women who are just storytellers that are essentially like, I don't know, the Sisters Grimm, where they're going around and collecting all these stories, but all the stories are getting twisted. So, like, Eve's story is Snow White, but not, because, like, she survives, but there is somebody in a glass coffin, because Nova dies, and that's how we get True Love's first kiss, because Nova's in the forest in this glass coffin, and not Snow. So, yeah, so it's a Snow White retelling, but also Rumpelstiltskin on acid story. I enjoyed it. Of course I enjoyed it. It's Kalynn Bayron book. And I don't want to say that, like, oh, I gave it 4 stars because Kalynn wrote it. No, like, I did enjoy it. I do wish that the romance wasn't in it. There was no need for it. It just felt like, oh, this boy exists. I love him kind of situation. There's a brief mention of her being bi, because she mentions thinking a girl was really cute at last year's ball. There's that, I guess, and then, but and then she meets Nova. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. But the rest of it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of suspense. Too many people died, and that made me sad. But overall, really enjoyed it. 4-star. So, a lot of this is rambling, and I wrote like an outline script of what I was going to say about each one of these books, and I really didn't even follow that. However, getting to the end, these 2 books right here were my favorite. I really think, surprisingly, I'm going to say Love Theoretically pulled out just a little ahead of One Dark Window, which is really surprising. I have been enjoying more, like, contemporary, non-fantasy books more this year, which is a little surprising. I am usually fully on fantasy, magical realism, like escape books, not, hey, this happens in real life books, but hey, it is what it is. So, what did you read in June? What did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy? What was your favorites of June? If you stuck around this long and listened to all of my rambling, thank you so much. And if you could leave a penguin emoji in the comments, because that's my favorite animal, so let's leave a penguin emoji in the comments. And if you like this video, hit the like button, as well as the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you are always notified every time that I upload. And until next time, bye!